So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Fantastic. So, welcome to the LTSIG Symposium on Virtual Reality, and many thanks to Heike for the invitation, of course, and many thanks to Nikki Photograph Philp for putting these together, and a massive thanks to our pre-conference event speakers, Sarah from Cambridge English, Raquel and Heike, who agreed to give their PC talks again. So, my name is Sophia, and Sophia Mavridis, and I'm the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG coordinator. And along with an amazing bunch of people, the LTSIG committee, we advocate the use of technology in language learning, and we raise awareness of the pedagogy behind the technology, and we also try to bridge the theory and practice gap in a way, both for the practitioner and the researcher. So we are a knowledge community, and we invite language teachers who are interested in the potential of technology to join us. And if you are a member of the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG, you enjoy additional benefits. We offer grants to our members to attend and present at conferences, publishing opportunities. We offer an electronic newsletter every 2 months, which becomes better and better thanks to our editor, Phil Longwell, and the content team, of course. And we offer research publications, and of course, we organize events on technological innovations online and face-to-face in order to contribute to our members' knowledge and expertise. And our most recent event was our PCE in Brighton, and that was on virtual reality and augmented reality. And I want to say a few words about the topic. I mean, why this topic? We know that virtual reality is a great innovation, and it's being successfully used in the world of science and medicine. But what about language learning? Does it have a place in language learning? So that's a big question. And that was the main question that we tried to answer. And the event was very successful. It was sold out. It received glowing feedback from the participants in terms of its content, talks, the venue, the atmosphere, the angle that we approached the topic. And some people say that technology doesn't have to be impressive or, I don't know, yes, impressive. And but VR is a flashy innovation that aims to wow people and to impress people that may have little value in terms of language learning. And they also say that it's far too expensive for the average classroom. So our answer to this as a learning technology SIG is that it may be impressive, it may be expensive, no doubt about that, but we try to look beyond the impressive cover and trying to explore its potential in the classroom. And we try to look ahead into the future. And most innovations started with a wow factor and were unaffordable when they were first launched. Mobile phones, for example, computers, the internet itself started off as such, but they became mainstream, at least for the developed countries. Because we should not forget the digital divide and that things are different to the developing countries. So, but that's a massive area which is beyond the scope of this symposium, of course. So I hope you enjoy our talks. Feel free to ask questions during and after the talks using the chat box. And also you are all invited, members and non-members of the LTSIG, to join our tweet chat on Sunday, 13th May at 1 o'clock UK time. This is on VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality. And this time we join forces with a very, very knowledgeable team, the LTSIG that specializes in virtual reality and augmented reality. JALT is the Japanese Association for Language Teachers. And all you need is a Twitter handle, a computer, and the hashtag MavRELT. By the way, Mav has nothing to do with my surname. It's incident. So I'm sharing the link to the tweet chat if you want more information, and you are all invited. And finally, just to say that for those of you asking how to become a member of the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG, you must be a member of IATEFL, and as a member, you get a free SIG. And so become a member of IATEFL and pick LTSIG as your free SIG. And now, without further ado, please welcome Sarah. Let me find your bio, Sarah, sorry. So Sarah is, Sarah Rogerson leads the assessment development team at Cambridge Assessment English. She is a passionate advocate of using new technologies for widening access to learning and assessment, and has pioneered the use of immersive technologies for reducing language test anxiety. Very, very interesting. So, Sarah, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So, as discussed, I'm going to be talking about virtual reality and augmented reality in the language classroom. I'm going to talk about, I don't know if it's the right audience, but I'm going to do a brief introduction to what each one is, then talk a little bit about how it's currently used in education and more broadly. And then I'm going to hone in into a few areas where we at Cambridge English are exploring what we can do with augmented reality and virtual reality. So before I start talking in more detail, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about what I do and what my team does. So as Sophia said, I lead the assessment development team at Cambridge English, and that's a team that is focused on transforming and enhancing what we currently do now. So as some of you may know, Cambridge English is an exam board that's part of the University of Cambridge, and we produce about 5 million exams a year. And you've probably heard about IELTS because that's our biggest one. And we're really focused on trying out new stuff and seeing if it works, to see if we can provide a better assessment and learning experience for the 21st century student, really. And here's a few examples of work that I'm doing in that area. So we're looking at games-based assessment. That is, how can you use a game to assess a medium or even a high-stakes test? And we're exploring that from the stealth assessment angle, because we're really keen on exploring what we can do to reduce any anxiety and to make the assessment more real, more reflective, more contextualized. We're exploring the online construct. So lots of our tests, lots of our computer-based tests are basically the same as our paper-based tests online. And there's a growing body of research to suggest that how people communicate and interact online and in the 21st century is vastly different to how it used to be. And so what I'm keen on doing is ensuring that we assess real life use of English rather than artificial use of English. So that's a key area we're looking at. We're looking at mobile first task types. We want to be providing assessments that are accessible to students throughout the world. And there's many countries where mobile phone use is really significant, and where for some people it's their only access to technology. And we're looking at mobile learning and what this all means for content and for the assessment of English. We're very focused on the best user experience, and we're gradually improving our own user experience to make sure that our computer-based tests and digital assessments are usable by students. I'm looking at exploring remote delivered speaking tests. So our current speaking tests are face-to-face. With IELTS, it's a one-on-one exam, and with other exams, it's 2 students and an examiner and an interlocutor. And that's quite difficult for some students and examiners to get to, and often involves a 50-kilometer bus ride. And we want to generally make it easier. So we're exploring Skype-delivered assessments and other ways that the computer can deliver assessments. We're looking at artificial intelligence. I was at a really exciting meeting last Friday where we're looking at how we can use chatbot interaction to assess language. And we're very early days with that, but we're looking at using a chatbot and recognizing it's a chatbot and making sure that we're kind of assessing real life use of English with a chatbot, because that's a new feature of the CFR edition. That is online collaboration, goal-oriented online collaboration, and one of the examples at A2 is with chatbots, so we're looking at that. And most of what we do is transformative. It's super transformative. It's changing the way we do things, but we're also keen on enhancing and just making slight improvements and tweaks to the way we do things. And the big thing that I'm here today, obviously, to talk about is virtual reality and augmented reality, because I think there's massive potential in these two areas for language learning, not least because virtual reality is a situated experience, and language learning is best when it's a situated experience. And augmented reality because it's hugely engaging and it brings things to life. And anything, any kind of educational experience which is brought to life and is more engaging is going to motivate students a little bit more. So I'm going to start with a quote, which is from Philp magazine, which says, the benefits of incorporating VR and AR include better engagement, help students to remember and express, and help students to be better prepared for the real world. And I really like this quote because what teacher wouldn't want this for their students? To be better prepared for the real world, to have in some ways experienced the real world in advance, to make things that little bit easier to handle. So let's take a quick look at how VR is being used now. So virtual reality is being used to a certain extent across a whole range of areas. The big one is gaming. I mean, just about every major console has some form of VR associated with it, but it goes way beyond gaming. It's in entertainment. Lots of people, some people kind of use virtual reality to watch Netflix on. It's been used for healthcare, to train staff. At the IATEFL SIG, Paul Driver was there and he was talking about a really interesting use of 360 videos in healthcare to create empathy with doctors and nurses. It's been used in the space industry. You can take a virtual trip to a museum. It's been used in manufacturing to kind of pre-test the whole process so that you can be sure that what you're making actually works in real life. Some courtrooms are using virtual reality. It's been used in meditation and mental health care, which I find really interesting because lots of time the idea is that technology can be bad for mental health, but actually virtual reality is being used to create some kind of Zen mindful spaces for people to kind of recover in. The big growth area is predicted to be shopping. It's being used in the military, and of course it is being used in education. So it's not really a future of education talk. It's this is how it's being used now, and then this is how Cambridge English plan to explore it a little bit more. So the impact on education is small but significant. Let's change slide. Here are some examples of how it's being used to transform education now, and there are many more. So there's Cerebrum, which is a brain training game for Samsung Gear, which is a fairly low-cost solution. There's Unimmersive, which is the largest platform for VR education experience, and it gives access to multiple experiences that will let students learn about history, space, or the human anatomy. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. It's being used in Google Expeditions, which is a super low cost, and it's probably one of my favorite examples actually, because it's free to use, it's mobile, it's low cost, and it allows teachers to explore different areas of the world with a tour guide. So that's pretty cool. It's being used on Team Drive 365, which is a Toyota scheme using Oculus headsets, and it's part of a campaign to educate teachers and parents about distracted driving. And it is being used in language learning already, so it's not entirely a new thing. It's been used on Mondly, and that's a collaboration between Oculus and Mondly to provide a VR language learning experience with automated speech recognition. Now, I'm not validating any of these because I don't know how good Mondly is. I see that Peter's tried it, but I haven't tried it, and it might be pretty awful. But I think lots of things are pretty awful until we actually get people with lots of sound pedagogical knowledge behind it and don't use it just as a gimmicky thing. And that's where we hope to come in. We're hoping to kind of make sure that everything we do is evidence-based and is based on lots of solid trialing to make sure that what we're doing improves learning outcomes or improves things for the better. Because it would be pretty easy, I think, to take a new technology and have people who aren't involved in pedagogy work with it, and then have something that actually may be worse for students and it takes them back a few steps. So we're quite interested in how we can make sure that everything that's produced, that we produce, has got quality. But before going into what we're doing with VR and language learning, I'm just going to quickly look at augmented reality. And most of you I'm sure all of you have some experience with augmented reality because it's massive, it's everywhere, it's ubiquitous. You probably don't even notice it. It's on the Weather Channel. But here's a few apps that use augmented reality. I can use it to check whether the paint is the right color for my living room, or to see whether the IKEA sofa I bought looks right in my space. I can use it to check whether the tattoo I want to have looks good, which is probably really, really important if you're going to get a tattoo. I can use it for Google Translate, which is a pretty cool tool. It's not always perfect, but it's a good start, and that automatically translates text for you when you're overseas. So you hold your camera using Google Translate over a sign, and it will translate it into the language you want it to be. Obviously, you can capture Pokemon with it when you're walking to the train station. And in Cambridge, every day when I walk to work, I'm walking behind 3 people who are manically capturing Pokemons. Peter asked what's the difference between augmented and mixed reality. I think Heike's answering, but augmented reality is kind of having this artificial overlay on the real world, and mixed reality is like that, but you can manipulate things. I think that's my definition. I can use it to leave secret messages in specific locations for friends to read, and of course I can use Blipper to learn so much more about the people and objects around me. It's all usually free, which is an important thing for exam boards and educators to think about, because most people want to actually make money out of something at the end of the day. But all of the applications on the screen are free, including the BBC Civilizations app, which is really fantastic and has got lots of good potential for CLIL. And the Snapchat, of course. I always like to include a few snaps in here because it's my favorite thing to do with my kids when they get annoying. So VR and AR is here, and it's already being used widely in multiple domains. Where do we see the potential for language learning? And the 4 key areas I'm going to explore are engaging teaching and learning materials. And I don't think we can underrate engagement. Engagement is essential in education. And you know, there's often stories about disenfranchised kids in school and kids dropping out of school because of a lack of engagement. And I have 5-year-old twins who will probably run in here at any moment. So if they do, excuse me. And one of them is very traditionally academic. And one of them, Jack, my boy, is really, he needs that constant engagement, and school doesn't often provide that. But technology, kind of a technology-enhanced education facilitated by excellent teachers can provide that. Excuse me. There's also English for specific purposes, which I think is a big area for virtual reality. There's test preparation materials, which obviously is our specialism. And then there's a thing that's a little bit more transformative, which I'll touch briefly on, which is remote classrooms. And that is a really transformative idea. So let's have a quick look at engaging learning and teaching materials. And I think this is where augmented reality really comes into its own. It brings learning to life as it brings objects to life. And augmented reality is becoming increasingly mainstream, but it can do more than my Snapchat pictures that I showed you earlier. And for example, I'm going to send you in text a video that I took a couple of days before IATEFL in my kitchen. And I will give you the same caveat as I gave at IATEFL. I didn't wash my kitchen table first. So if you watch this video, I'll give you a minute or 2 to watch it. It's just a short video of some augmented reality flashcards. And I bought these in Malaysia probably last year. And since I bought them, I think they've become more and more mainstream, and they have different types of them. In fact, at IATEFL, I was talking to a lady and demonstrating them to her, and she immediately got her husband in, I think it was Argentina, to get some on Amazon Prime, and she actually had 4 sets of them delivered to her the day after the conference. So these ones are animals. It's ABC flashcards. And what's cool about them is there's a target image, which augmented reality is always based on. You have this image, and when your phone scans that image, it can put stuff on top of it. It can overlay things on top of it. And those things are often 3D or 4D images with a lot of with sound, which makes it much more engaging. And as you can see from the video I showed you, I think there's a yak. There's a flat picture of a yak. I'm an ex-EFL teacher for young learners, and I use flashcards quite a lot. And a flat flashcard can be quite fun if you play lots of games with it. But if you scan that with your mobile phone, and then this animal pops up, and you can hear it, and you can see it, and you can turn it around, and then you can tap in the app and read much more information about it, see where it lives, see its environment, see what it eats. It immediately becomes a richer and deeper learning experience. And I think that's what these flashcards really provide. And if you are going to get some for your grandson, Carol, I think it's made by Octagon 4D. And they're really a lot of fun, and my kids like playing with them. And I think they have space ones, all different kinds. So that's the augmented reality flashcards. Oops, wrong page. And what's cool about these augmented reality flashcards is that they're right here and right now. They're real, they're relevant. It's kind of it's really important that things are real and relevant and right now, because that's what makes education more engaging. And things that are real, relevant right now are kind of virtual reality field trips or immersive language experiences. These all broaden your cultural competence and the fun for young learners. It provides a historical perspective, all of the much deeper learning. It's personalized, and you can localize things. And what we're working at the moment with augmented reality is an augmented reality treasure hunt using language. And I'd love to show it you, but it's a bit secret right now, and it's in very, very minimum viable product stage. But what we're doing is we're creating this augmented reality. Oh, hi, Estella. Sorry, I'd forgotten your name. I hope your grandchildren are enjoying the cards. So yeah, we're creating this from a hackathon. We've developed this augmented reality app game where you can kind of walk around Cambridge and pick up secret notes in English. So you're reading and you're listening and you're acting upon what you've heard. And for me, that's more important than answering a multiple choice question, because you're actually physically acting on what you're hearing, and it brings in that total physical response part to language learning. So there's that augmented reality card. And let me show you a quick link to something that is similar, but a little bit different. This is an augmented reality addition to a book for students. It's a dinosaur book. And I think all kids like dinosaurs. And what this shows me is that you can have cards, but you can also have your standard textbook, your standard course book, which most people are still using fairly happily, but you can add elements to them which make it more fun. This example is of a dinosaur book. And what you do is you read about dinosaurs, you learn about the T-Rex, you learn about pterodactyls, and sometimes you have this part that's an augmented reality page, and you scan the page with your camera, and this true-to-life dinosaur pops up, and you can move it around the screen. You can take a selfie with the dinosaur, you can play games with the dinosaur, you can make it raw, and these are all small things that augmented reality can do to kind of enhance the learning experience. So there are two examples of how augmented reality is being used now, and how augmented reality, both of these experiences, both of the things that I've showed you are really, really positive for language learning, because both of the things I've shown you can be used for language learning are there right now. And Raquel mentions Blipper, and Blipper came to talk to us at the IATEFL conference. And with Blipper, you can upload and trigger 3D models, and you can create your own augmented reality. And it's fairly easy to do. At IATEFL, they made it, I think they made it sound quite complicated actually, but if you have a play around and you know where to get kind of your 3D images from, then you're in a good place to start. And there's a ton of ideas of how you could use that in language learning in terms of information gap activities, in terms of speaking activities, in terms of kind of task-based learning, problem solving, and all of the 21st century skills that people are focused on these days. So that's two examples of virtual reality. And then there's the two examples of augmented reality. And then there's virtual reality, which has lots of applications, such as virtual field trips. Not many teachers can take the whole class on a field trip, and you can with virtual reality, or with 360 videos at least. You can have immersive language experiences. So everybody, all of the rich kids come to England to do their summer schools in English to improve their language. And with virtual reality, you can be immersed in that culture and you can hear that culture. And it might not be the same, but it's a good step towards it, which in turn broadens cultural competence. You can go historical field trips. I find this really exciting because history is exciting. And we've got this thing in the UK called Horrible Histories, which tries to bring history to life on TV via drama for kids. But actually going one step further and making that virtual, so the kid or the learner is in that experience, they're in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, and they're seeing these battles take place, adds a lot more to it. And as soon as you get immersed in things, as soon as you're able to remember them more, then it's deeper learning. And most often it can be personalized because there's so much in terms of 360 videos out there, as Raquel will tell you about later in terms of expeditions. But there's so many things out there that you can let the student who wants to learn about the Great Barrier Reef learn about it. And you can let the other student learn about something else if they're going out of the classroom to learn. And if they're not, as a teacher, you can facilitate these experiences. And that's the great thing about Google Expeditions, the teacher-led facilitation. And I wanted to tell you about our kind of working with 360. We've done a lot of work with 360 over the past few years. And I can't show it you because I don't have the video anymore. The video is in my online PowerPoint, but it's not actually anything that's live yet. It's kind of an MVP, it's in development. But what we've tried to achieve is to put a language learner in a kind of an everyday scenario. So they might be in a restaurant in the UK, which they are in the videos that we've produced. So they're in a restaurant in the UK, you're looking around, you've got somebody opposite you talking to, you've got the waiter asking you various questions, and you can hear conversation going around. So you're in this real life immersive situation. And we've developed this app, which means that you're told via the app, you're told, okay, now you're going to go into this restaurant, watch what's happening, and then talk about it for 2 minutes afterwards. So you go into you put on your goggles, you're in the restaurant, you're watching what's going on, then the app will, I'm not sure what to call it, the experience will say, okay, now talk about it for 2 minutes. And then you'll talk about it for 2 minutes, and then that audio's saved to your phone. And what's great about this is you have an immersive experience. You've got lots of stimulus to talk about. One thing that I guess is a bit of a bugbear of mine in language learning is we'll do a lot of activities that say, imagine you're at blah, 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 or imagine you're a person that's doing blah, blah, blah. And that imagining is conceptually quite difficult for people. Yeah, the take two, it doesn't have an example of the video. It's a blog that describes what happens. It's really quite difficult for people. And by putting the person in the situation, they don't have to imagine anymore. They're just experiencing and communicating about their experience. And for me, that's way more like authentic communication in real life. So I can't show you the videos, but they're great. And the vision is that once we've trialed them and tested them, teachers can then use them in their classroom and can have that chance to give feedback to the students on their audio, on their spoken production. Or ultimately, because we're also working on auto marking of speech, in a couple of years, it might be that you put on your glasses, you practice your speaking, it's uploaded to an auto marking engine, and you get immediate feedback. And that would provide the teacher with a lot of extra time to work with individual students on what they need to, because what I think technology is great at is taking the load off the teacher and allowing them to focus on the things that they're best at. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is teacher training. And there's a quote here that says that student achievement at the end of the year is directly related to how you set the processes at the beginning of the year. But what if you're a new teacher? What if it's your first day in class? It's not a great place to be. And chances are, if you're an EFL teacher, you might never have been in a real classroom before. Certainly in my first class, I'd never been alone in a classroom. And what you don't know, you don't know. You don't notice the students at the back on the phone or the one at the front doing the maths homework. And this is where immersive technology can help. I think in something like CELTA and Delta, there's massive potential for us to arrange for those observations to be done via 360. And here's a few more ideas. I've put a few ideas together. So there's one called So You Want to Teach. Lots of people want to teach, and the minute they teach, run out of the classroom screaming. Actually, at university, I were friends with people who were training to be teachers, and one lady went into the classroom on the first day and ended up jumping out of the window because she was so terrified. It was on the ground floor, and that is a true story. So lots of people think they want to teach, and the minute they start teaching, realize it's not for them. Well, if you've got this 360 immersive technology, you can try out teaching before you teach and save yourself a lot of pain. There's pre-service, there's certification, and obviously this is where I'm coming from. I'm about to start working on a project where we're going to explore how we can use 360 as part of the CELTA and Delta training. Because as I spoke about at the conference, there's this thing called the observer effect. And if you have done CELTA, I've done CELTA, you have this panel of 6 to 8 people at the back of the classroom watching you, which makes you feel uncomfortable, which makes the students act all weird. And to a certain extent, it's not a real observation if everybody's acting a little bit weird because they're being observed. And I'm not saying that's in every situation, but sometimes. And so I think we're going to explore something where we try on a very, very small scale to see if it works to kind of live stream a 360 video of that as an observation. Because what that would do there is it would enable the observers to see exactly what's going on in every part of the room. So that's its very early stages, but I think it's going to be quite exciting. And then obviously, if you're using 360 videos as part of certification, you can use them for ongoing observation and continual professional development. So I've kind of brain dumped on you a whole load of ways that I think, sorry, I skipped that slide, on ways that I think immersive technologies and augmented reality can be used to create engaging language learning materials. The next thing I'm going to talk about is English for specific purposes, because English for specific purposes is by definition specific, and it's often difficult to add that word that I can never say, specificity, into the language classroom, because if your students work in a hospital, or if they work in a police station, or if they work somewhere where it's really difficult to replicate, you can't do that, but you can with virtual reality and 360. And in fact, we do with virtual reality and 360 already. So there's the aviation industry. And obviously, practice is really expensive in the aviation industry. And that's why the aviation industry have for decades had immersive technologies and simulators to support pilots with flying practice. And this is something that I think language exam boards and educational organizations can work in partnership to provide that language learning and assessment. Of course, you can die as well. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. But you can provide that assessment and language learning as part of the actual flight training. Similarly, there's oil, where real practice is impractical, it's far away and obviously dangerous too. But with language learning, we could also provide language learning components into already their kind of virtual oil industry training. There's the health industry, where real practice saves lives. And of course, it's lots of things besides. It's just not practical to always do things really. And so again, you know, with virtual reality and healthcare modules, we can add on the language learning component so that what we're doing in terms of virtual reality language learning is really, really situated, really contextualized, and better for learning and assessment. And it's been done already to a certain extent. This is, I think this is from I can't remember the details, but I think it's from a Saudi research paper. At the bottom of the slide, I've got the details. But it says that virtual reality videos actually help the postgraduate students to retain ESP vocabulary and develop their competence levels. And this is in comparison to traditional models. So that actual fact of having a virtual scenario, of having that more true-to-life immersive scenario in English for specific purposes context was vastly improved by virtual reality. And this is something that I'm really keen on exploring a little bit more. And now I'm going to talk to you about test preparation. Test preparation is obviously our key area. And test preparation provides, virtual reality provides a safe space for people. That's why it works. It provides a safe space. Oh, my slide's gone. Right. It provides a safe space for people. And this rings true for test preparation, because sometimes tests cause anxiety, and there's a thing called test anxiety or foreign language anxiety. And this isn't about transforming the model that we use now. It's about using technology to support learners with our current model. If learners are anxious about speaking tests, then virtual reality allows them to try it out in a safe space. And we think this because speaking is known to be the single most important source of language anxiety. And anybody at any level who has additional languages, which I'm sure you will do, will know that sometimes speaking in a second language is really, really nerve-wracking. And in terms of validity, if a student is really anxious, then we're not really testing their kind of true English language skills, because their anxiety is affecting the validity of the test. So we know that virtual reality has been used successfully in other contexts. For example, it's been used to support people with PTSD, and it certainly has the potential in lowering candidate anxiety. So it certainly has the potential of lowering that candidate anxiety in speaking tests. But how can we actually find out? So we did a little research project in this area to see how virtual reality could be used. Here's some examples of how it's been used in the past. It's been used with a thing called virtual reality immersion or exposure therapy, such as PTSD, fear of heights, and the fear of public speaking. And it's been used very successfully in all of these areas. And the one I'm going to kind of hone into, I'm losing my voice. The one I'm going to hone in on is virtual reality and the fear of public speaking, because it has been proven successful in helping people reduce their fear of public speaking. And speaking in a foreign language is always public speaking to a certain extent, and speaking in a speaking test is public speaking. So the idea is that because we know it works in these areas, it should be able to work for us in our area. Because in situations of anxiety, it can be useful to practice in a safe space in advance. So what did we do? We created a program called Cambridge English 360. Cambridge English 360 was 360 videos using Google Cardboard to support people with test preparation. Most speaking tests are conducted face-to-face and often quite stressful for candidates, and it's usually an unfamiliar experience. At Cambridge English, we initiated this project to do two things. One, to familiarise people with the test day experience, that is, to reduce surprises. We've done a lot of kind of secret shopper, secret customer research, and we've done lots of market research. And we were surprised ourselves by the experiences that some people have in speaking tests. If you know us, our speaking tests run through a centre network, so we're not directly involved. But students were telling us that they felt nervous in the speaking test because they were having their passport taken, they were having their picture taken, they were having their passport checked again. And in some cases, it was almost like getting on a flight. It was pretty scary, especially if you didn't know what was going to happen. And we wanted to explore whether these technologies can be used to reduce test anxiety. So we produced two types of videos. We produced one type of video which was deliberately to show the students the test day experience, and it's shot from a first-person perspective, and it's got somebody's experience from walking into the centre to take their test, to taking their test and coming out again. So it shows you kind of like the whole test day scenario, and it takes away any surprises. It shows you exactly what to expect. They're available, and I'll send you the link later. But the second one that I want to talk about is a test anxiety piece. Because what we did here is we shot some first-person videos of students actually taking their test. And it was quite fun to shoot because we had people in the exam room, and then one chair was empty and just had the camera sat on the chair, because we wanted the examiner, the interlocutor, to be talking to the camera, so that perspective is, when you're viewing it, is that you're actually being spoken to by the examiner, and the examiner pauses so you can respond. So as well as being immersed in the situation, you're having the opportunity to practice in the situation. I'll show you a link of that video in a second. I'm just going to talk through our research methods. So this is our research design. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail because I'm not a researcher, but I was involved in it. So we have three groups. We've got the control group, the VR group, and the mock test group. The control group was our everyday student. They did something that's called a foreign language anxiety survey. It's a standard tool for measuring anxiety. And they did that before they took the test. Then they watched a 360 video. Then they did the test. And then they did a post-test foreign language anxiety survey. So the aim there was just to have two data sets. How anxious were they before the test? How anxious were they after the test? We had the VR group who did the same. But before the test, we had them practice using the Cambridge English 360 videos. Just to answer Peter's question, maybe a GoPro would do just as well, but what we wanted to do was to get the full kind of room experience and have it so that when you wear the headset, you actually feel as though you're in the room, which I don't think you would get with the head-mounted GoPro camera. And then we had the mock test group, and the mock test group did the same thing as the control group, but as the VR group, but instead of practicing using Cambridge 360, they practiced with a mock test with an examiner. So what you might have hypothesized from this is that the mock test group felt the least anxious because they had actually experienced the test with an examiner before the event, so they knew what to expect. And what we hypothesized was that maybe the VR group, because they'd had that practice using Cambridge English 360, might have also felt less anxious about the test. So that's where we came from with this design. So let me now show you what the videos look like. The videos are quite long, so I'm just going to send you a link to one of them and talk you through it for a minute, and then you can watch the rest at some other point, I guess. They're all... So this video, if you get this, it's quite flat. It's deliberately boring because we wanted to replicate a real test, and there's probably some work to the user experience that we can do. And if you watch it on YouTube, there's a little arrows like a compass at the top, so you can scroll around the room and see the examiner in the corner, and you can turn around and see your partner next to you. It's basically an FCE Part 2 or a Cambridge English First Part 2. And what happens in the video is you, as the viewer, sit there, the examiner asks you a question, pauses, and then you answer the question. And then your partner at some point, you'll turn around, they will ask you a question, and you will answer the question. And then the images that you generally have in Part 2 will pop up on screen so that you'll be able to see those as well, and you'll be able to compare those images. And the purpose with these videos was purely to put people in an immersive situation, an immersive exam situation, to see if by doing so, it in any way reduced how anxious they felt about the test. So I'm not going to dwell on the videos anymore, but on our YouTube channel, there are all parts of the FCE test. Sorry to hear about your Spanish test, Jason. There are all parts of the FCE test, and we're going to start exploring more on other products with this soon. But let me tell you the bad news. I always like to be honest in these situations. We had a good idea, and the good idea worked because everybody really, really enjoyed it. But we had lots of problems. We had tech problems. There was we wanted to do worldwide trials throughout the world with around 200 different people. And we had a lack of stable Wi-Fi. In Mexico in particular, there was a school went to Mexico and they couldn't run the videos. And if you have no stable Wi-Fi, then the videos judder. And there's a variety of phones being used that we hadn't anticipated. We knew which phones would work because they had a gyrometer, but we couldn't anticipate all phones in the countries. There was a lack of awareness of the technology itself, and we were actually training people to use the technology. And we're quite an old-fashioned exam board in some ways, and that was quite surprising for us. We were quite pleased to be a little bit ahead of the curve, but it didn't help that we were training students to use it. The biggest problem by far we had was data. We need the data to make assertions, to prove things. We need data. And you wouldn't believe how many students didn't actually fill in the post-test surveys, so then we only have one data set. And there's a big caveat that people have to remember is that some students did report nausea, and that's not, that's going to go away, it's going to get better. But we had 2 students out of about 60 who reported nausea, and that's important to remember. So these were our lessons learned, and because of this, at the moment, we don't have the data we need to say one way or another whether it helped to reduce test anxiety. What we can definitively say is that students loved it. Most students really, really enjoyed the situation. That it made the test more engaging to them. It was really helpful to them to have this first-person experience, and it was really helpful to have the practice to speak. But we don't have the data yet to prove it, but we should have something fairly soon. The last one I'm going to very briefly talk on before my voice goes is remote classrooms. Everything I've talked about so far is about enhancing what we do, but the remote classrooms piece is more about transforming what we do. And I think it's in the area of remote classrooms that immersive tech can really transform education and bring a little bit of parity to education. Here's a quote from Brian Schuster, which says that virtual worlds promise to deliver the best in terms of online distance learning, and the best in terms of real-world classrooms, and the best in terms of technology, but it'll do this cheaper. And I don't know about all the countries throughout the world, but I know in the UK it's becoming ridiculously expensive. And that's a problem because people are choosing not to do higher education because of this. And there's also a backlash against education to a certain extent, because we talk about personalization and we talk about, as professionals, we talk about things that we think should make things better, but actually it doesn't come across in the classrooms at the moment. So Jason's saying it's cheap there, but I think in the UK, most people leave at university now with a debt of around £50,000. So virtual worlds can help in this case. And it can transform education as we know it, but like these 2 pictures show. So the first picture shows a traditional classroom, and it's probably unfair. It's quite an old picture, but in some parts of the world, and definitely in the UK, education hasn't changed much since then. And I spoke about my kids before, and I think their school is pretty traditional in this respect. It's people sitting behind a desk, being spoken to, and reacting upon what they're being told, and doing what they've been told. In the second picture, it's not a remote classroom, but it's more of a engaging, personalized, immersive education. And this is what virtual reality can do. And with virtual reality, you can access the best educational facilities. You don't have to just go to your local school. And in the UK, again, in this context, we have private schools that most people can't afford to go to that have better facilities. But with virtual reality, you can access the best facilities. There's a tool called Labster, which allows anybody wherever to access the best labs, like science labs. You can attend school wherever you live, and I think this is really important because parts of the world are still very remote. And at the moment they wouldn't be virtual reality because of cost and because of network, but one day they might be able to, and at that point they'll be able to go to school. You can learn what you want at the level you want to learn it. So we have this standardized version of education at the moment, in the UK at least, where if you're at a certain year in school, you learn the same as everybody else learns in that school. And if you don't, you're seen as behind or advanced. That's not fair. It's not fair to label people like that. And with virtual reality, for adults, you can learn what you want at the level you want to learn it. You can be homeschooled. You can join virtual reality communities to get more formal education. And you don't have to worry about money too much. But the challenges, this is my last slide, I promise, the challenges here that are around virtual reality and augmented reality are the price point is still too expensive for most, except for the Google Expeditions. It's not new technology, but the use of it and the scale of it is new. And the ease of using it is new. Before you might need to be hooked up to a big machine. Now it's just a head-mounted set, or it's your phone. But because it's new, lots of people don't know how to use it, and because lots of people don't know how to use it, people are wary of it, and it's not proven. There's the motion sickness thing. I said it's going to go away, but it's still worth thinking about. There's accessibility. I'm an advocate of having things that everybody can use, and to my knowledge, and my knowledge isn't massive, people with different disabilities will have problems using these technologies. So teachers and exam boards and schools have to figure out what to do for the whole class, for the individuals within the class, because some people won't be able to use it at the moment. And then there's teaching. Cambridge English believe that technology cannot work without excellent facilitation from teachers. We believe that the teacher and the machine coming together is the best solution for students. We believe that there are things that teachers can do better and should do, things that the machine can do better and should do, and things that the machine and the teacher can do together. And so whenever we're thinking about a new technology, we have to think about what that means for the teacher and how is the teacher going to use it, rather than just imposing it on the teacher. So that is my talk on virtual reality and augmented reality and what it means for language learning from a Cambridge English perspective. So I think I've probably gone on too long, but if anybody does have questions, I'm happy to answer them. You're all very welcome. This is my first kind of virtual talk like this.
We did not notice at all. We did not notice at all that this is your first talk.
I didn't. I was meant to be 20 minutes in my head.
Okay, that's fine. No, we really enjoyed it. I mean, it was differently planned, but I did not really want to interrupt at all because it was so fascinating. And I think you contribute so much and so many facets of this big field and exploring it in language teaching and learning. Thank you so much, Sarah. Anybody has
pleasure.
Anybody has questions to Sarah? Please text, put it in text chat. And I have a question, because you're doing so much development. How much of that which you develop actually goes into the final, we'd say, production or rollout or whatever? Because you test and try at all levels, but then how much does how much?
I mean, that's a good question. So what we've been doing is developing innovation processes and product development processes. And we've got two very separate streams of work. We've got the exams as they are now, which aren't changing that much. Well, they're going onto computer and stuff. And then we've got my stuff, which is all the new stuff. And the plan is that once my stuff's tried and tested, then it will start moving into the current exams. So if I'm working on a remote delivered speaking assessment, we need to try it out. Like, we're really, really hot on trialing stuff at a big scale and making sure it properly works, and making sure that a person doing it face to face and a person doing it on screen one's not disadvantaged. So we need to do comparability studies, and once we've done that, then it will become an option on the real papers. At the moment, this process has only been going on for around a couple of years, and it's mainly been focused on learning, but it's in the past year or year and a half or so it's been more focused on assessment. So it will be going into regular business, but just not yet.
Fantastic. And now Phil also asked a question. He's interested in what you're doing with refugees.
Have I got time to answer?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I can just give a very quick talk on that, like a minute, which probably means an hour. So I started an initiative at Cambridge English to support refugees or forced migrants with language learning. It's been great. It's been really great. We've got 106. We've donated 160 pieces of hardware to refugee charities around the world. Before they were we were paying people to dispose of them. We've produced a number of MOOCs to support people while they're waiting to get. Lots of people can't work, can't do anything with their time, and so we're providing educational experiences for them. We've got a number of bursaries for refugees in the UK. To go to take one of our exams, and there's several initiatives going on, and it's a really, really positive program that we're all enjoying being part of. And yeah, it's a really good thing. And if anybody wants to talk about it or ask me any questions about it, I'm happy to take emails, and I'll just get back to you.
Thank you. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And also for pasting your email address here on the board. Wonderful. Okay. Today was Sunday, the 29th of April, 2018. Just to mention this on the recording. And with this, I thank Sarah Rogerson from Cambridge Assessment English very, very much.
Thank you.
Oh, what a great job, Sarah. Wonderful. So we're going over to Raquel. I hope that her audio works. And Raquel has been such a delightful, refreshing, down-to-earth practical session at the Learning Technology SIG PCE. We really look forward to hearing her. And Raquel, if that's okay, I mean, your presentation time at the PCE was 45 minutes. So if you could perhaps stick to 30 and then we do some question and answers for about 5 or 10 minutes, and that would be great. Google Cardboard, yes, everybody's heart opens up. Can you test your audio? It's not working. Can you perhaps... you can't select the microphone in Google Chrome, right? In a Chromebook.
Is
no.
is that better?
Absolutely better.
Yeah? Lovely. Okay, I'm happy to be here, everyone. So I'm speaking from São Paulo.
A little bit the volume, I think, even.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Well, my volume here seems to be low, but then...
Sarah, it's all recorded. You can catch up on it.
Let me see how I can manage that. Is that better?
Yes, it's better. And I know you get really excited and then you start really teacher-like.
Well, this is going to be much shorter because, you know, we haven't got
too loud again.
all the equipment. So this is going to be great. I'm very happy to be here.
Sorry.
And
sorry.
Again. Don't worry. I can see about that. I think I know because it's possibly the
She has a Chromebook, and so on the Chromebook it is like the app on the iPad or on the mobile phone. It's where it says connect microphone. Underneath there's a slider.
Is that better now?
It doesn't seem to have changed anything. I don't know what you're doing. Do you do it in Adobe Connect?
Okay. And now, maybe if I remove
yeah, it's the same. It's a built-in microphone, it seems to be.
Okay, possibly because I'm presenting from a device, you know, from a mobile device. It seems, let's see.
Can you perhaps click on the microphone there and regulate that?
I did, and I have reduced it the maximum I can, but let's see if I can mute the media completely. Maybe that will work.
It totally didn't make a single difference, and the voice is a bit distorted, yeah. I know Skype is automatically adjusting things, but
still very loud.
Not.
Still very loud.
Yes, nothing has changed, really. It's just the same as the beginning.
Okay, let me see, because...
Well, we tried, Peter, we tried the mobile phone. This didn't work, and now she's on her Chromebook.
Better?
Oh, that has done something. Can you...
No voice, Sophia.
But it goes back to what it was.
Okay.
It was just lower, and then...
Okay. I'm trying to...
Yeah, there it is slower.
See what I can do here. Because everything seems to be completely
That seems to be good. If you can keep it there.
Okay. Does it change?
It has
Is there any
changed.
change for you?
And you go back. See, the minute you go out, you go back into the app. You seem to be working on your machine rather than in the app itself. Because you can reduce the volume in your machine when the app is closed, but then as soon as you go back to the app, it's open again. It seems on full blast.
Yeah, it seems
do you see
to
a
me
microphone
that
there?
I have a.
Do you see inside Adobe Connect the microphone? And now it's silence completely.
Okay. It's still very loud for you.
It has gone a little less, yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Can you speak normal so that we can hear whether it's okay?
Okay. That's normal?
Yeah, say a little bit longer than just that's normal. We have to hear you.
That's there is a delay. Yeah, there seems to be a delay. For me here, if I try, because I'm following on the computer, the volume via YouTube Live is okay. Do you think you could give it a try?
It's much better now, but it has not
I've been on microphone.
to have done anything but just speak a little bit with a lower voice or go a little bit further away from your device and just reduce the volume and then it's okay. Yeah, sadly.
Right.
Okay.
I'll give it a try. All right then. Sorry about the technicalities. Okay. It seems to me that everything I do in terms of presentation goes back to mobile, okay? So I'm presenting that from a device. I tried it on the mobile, on the app, but it seems there are some limitations, so I apologize in advance. Well, I'd like to start by explaining that.
Can I introduce you before you start?
Of course, of course.
Okay, I'll start the recording. So, welcome everybody to Raquel Ribeiro's presentation on virtual reality and her fantastic work with using the cardboard in class. And Raquel was in Brighton, thankfully, which is quite away from her from Brazil. She was in Brighton, and at the PCE she brought along all of the cardboards that she'd actually originally got from London shipped to her. So she shipped everything back to Brighton and back and forth, and this including her luggage. And we're really grateful because she did such a practical, down-to-earth session. It was really wonderful. Thank you very much, Raquel, for presenting again what you did then. Raquel, allow me to introduce Raquel, and perhaps if, whilst I'm doing this, those in the audience could just drop a little one-liner in the text chat as to your professional background, because we would like to hear whether language teachers are in our midst or technologists or whatever, just to understand where you're coming from, and then perhaps Raquel also knows how to address this. So allow me to introduce Raquel to you whilst you perhaps typing. Raquel is an EFL teacher and EdTech blogger from Brazil. She's a lecturer and teacher trainer in the field of mobile technology for educational purposes. She's also a subcommittee member for the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG, an innovator and mentor certified by Google as well as EFL teacher at Cultura Inglés Sao Paulo, Brazil. She's passionate about the potential technology has to enhance the learning and to promote the inclusion of blind and visually impaired students. Without further ado, over to you, Raquel.
Okay, thank you, Heike. Thanks, everyone. I think the volume will be an issue, maybe, but let's see how we can handle that. I'm actually presenting from
I think you can come. You come a little closer as well.
Closer. Okay. Very well. Before we start, please help me understand via chat whether it's too low or too, high, because, presenting on mobile, it's different this way. Well, when we think of virtual reality, it links to what Sarah mentioned in terms of experience. So the learning scenario of the 21st century has shifted from just reading and writing to also experiencing. And the first thing before we think of integrating the cardboard, which is actually, okay, this is how everything started, okay, for me in 2015. This is actually a very simple and literally a cardboard box. As Heike mentioned, to Brighton, I took this one, which was a donation from Google London, and it was such an adventure. But before just thinking, okay, I'm going to take something funny to my classroom, it is important that we reflect upon what leads us there. So I'd like to mention some words, because this was a part, we had a Socrative quiz, and there's of course no room for that in this format. But it's important to think of using resources to generate other models of addressing education. So if we consider this using such as a cardboard, this is another model, okay? Also, consider the possibility that the world is a classroom and we have enough resources to take our students there. Consider the learner experience potential, and then in order to have a valid experience, you cannot overuse that. So one thing that I really need to make clear is that the integration of cardboard with your class is not going to be a weekly practice, okay? Something mentioned in the mobile conference from UNESCO, which was the Mobile Week actually, a little bit before IATEFL, was the fact that unfortunately many times the mobile phones are seen as a disruptive resource and not really connected to teaching. So another thing I want to show you before actually going there is that we need to change our mindset to understand this. So with those considerations in mind, I'd like to ask the help here from Heike, if you could move on to the second slide, please, because I'm here. Hi everyone, I'm following the chat from here. If you could go to the second slide, please. Let's see if I can manage that here.
At the bottom left, you find some arrows. I think I just moved it up.
Okay, I found the arrow. That's great. Thank you.
Sorry. So
All right.
Just hit the width again.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well,
the microphone has changed again. Sorry, you have to go a little lower. Anyway.
It happens, you know. I'd like to invite you to download the app Expeditions, and you probably have the YouTube in your mobile phone. And it's very important this is on your cell phone, okay? While you are doing so, I'm going to make some considerations which are important here. Firstly, we have two possibilities. If you can download Expeditions, if the mobile has enough room, in a memory, that's a great option. But what happens is some phones are not able to handle because it's a heavy app to download. And that's the reason why YouTube is a possibility as well. Because, you know, once you use YouTube, it's a built-in app, and let's think of worst case scenario. If you can't have the app, you can access that via browser. Well, moving on here, because I'm considering the time constraints, I'd like to just skip one more. Okay, this quiz is about what I just mentioned before. Yeah, we are going to the step by step. If you consider using YouTube, every time you search, it's important that you write the theme of your search, and then you type 360. So YouTube understands it has to search 360-degree videos. Once you find that video, when you click on the screen, you're going to find the icon of the cardboard. So you understand that's when it changes. There's a sequence in the pictures here. So experience YouTube in VR, that's the icon you should look for. That's how it splits the screen into two. And finally, how you fit that into your mobile phone. Okay, let me show it very quickly. So I've got here my device. It's possibly very noisy. And then I put it together, because now you can actually buy it this way. And then I fit my mobile phone here inside, so it's ready to work. I'll send you the link later on with pricing and possibilities. Okay. Well, once you do it, there are differences in the navigation. I'm going to show you very quickly only one of the videos here. Heike, if, no, let me see, I think I can do that. Maybe if Heike could do that, click on the first video, please, because it seems this is limited on mobile here.
I'm afraid we need the YouTube link for that one.
Only one, it's enough, if you could. I'll think of something here. Well, this video actually shows a student doing pretty much
Can
what I
you
did
share the YouTube
before.
link?
It's a YouTube, no, it's a video link. It's not working right now. I can embed
It doesn't
this
work
into
inside
a
the
document.
PDF, I'm afraid.
Okay, don't worry. Sorry, guys, I apologize for that. But the girl is going to do exactly what I was doing, which is
Can you
putting
share
the
the
phone
YouTube
inside.
link at all?
It's not on YouTube, I'm afraid. It was just a file. What I can do is try sharing the
Did you send it to me?
While I'm talking, I'm going to do that with Heike, and then let's see how it goes, okay? But the point is, and then we get back there. Sorry about that. Well, it's very important to consider the different approaches when using the app Expeditions, which of course promotes a more immersive experience and also more educational experience, and the difference of using the YouTube app. Both give you the possibility, and the difference is going to be on your task design. But just before you go to task design, let's understand how it goes. Once you download this app, then you can go, they call you join on board, and then you can actually go there and you find a sequence of tours to take. Let me see if I can share that with you very quickly when I go. And then you choose the tour you prefer, And right after that, you choose the category. Okay, so let me show here on my phone. So there's.
Would you like us to download the app and follow along, Raquel?
It takes a while, but no more than 3 minutes. And then once you download the app, it's not going to be easy to see, but there is something written on embark. Actually, embark, explore on your own. While using that with your students, and then when you click on embark, what happens is that it will split your screen into 2 and let you know about it. And a little bit later, you get to see the screen into 2. But as I was saying, depending on the mobile model, this is not going to happen very quickly, or maybe it's not going to happen at all, and that's why having the YouTube possibility is really important. Once you're there, then you have
Can
to
I
choose
just ask Raquel?
If
Raquel,
it's just a
when you have-
person.
Sorry, every time I'm speaking, it seems to be that the audio becomes louder. Can I ask, is that possible to do it at the distance? That means that you can create a group or something?
All right. Is that better?
No, Raquel, you don't understand me. Is it possible for us to try out Google Expedition as a group, but at a distance?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the audio. Yes, it is, of course. The thing is, if you don't have the Google Cardboard, then you can have an idea, not the full experience. But of course you can. Like as I'm speaking here, your phone is going to have the screen split in 2. And then as you navigate through, of course now at this point, using the cardboard, then you can see a menu and choose your tour. Once you choose your tour, you have to go.
As a teacher, you follow the tour with the students, seeing the students, but can you do that with us also, that we do it and you follow it as a teacher?
Yes, you can. Well, in order to be able to control the tour, you need to have the expeditions on your school. So if your school has a partnership with Google, so they give you like a tablet where you control the expedition path. But I don't have this possibility, so I was thinking, and that's how I worked with my students. They downloaded the app, and I just told them, click here, click there, and they were in charge of the tour. So just to make that it is possible to work with this possibility, even if you don't have the expeditions kit, which gives you the tablet.
Thank you very much.
That commands the set of phones. What happens is that the expeditions version for 2018 is amazing because it helps us. Let me just go on here. Okay, it helps us follow and understand what is going on. If you have the opportunity to follow, there are arrows directing you to images and also to the sound. And when you look down and you see the narrator icon, that's so cool because then you can listen to all the information. The other possibility is to work with YouTube. And I selected 2 videos here. So if you type on YouTube right now, one of those names to visit the forest and discover Salvador da Bahia is like when there is some sort of getting to know a new city. There are possibilities. And just like yesterday, my little kids aged 6, they visited Hamley's, you know, the toy shop. And they were like, okay, what is Hamleys? And I felt, okay, I've got this tool here, and there is a great 360-degree video available on YouTube. And while they were visiting, they would say the name of the toys. And this is something, guys, which is really important. Every time you choose a tour, as an English language teacher, we need to go beyond the tour, okay? That's really, really important that we go beyond the tour, because otherwise it's a kind of experience they can have, for instance, in an amusement park, and that's not the point. So if I'm working, in the first picture here, you see the little kids, they were visiting the forests. So the idea is that they can say what they see, or for instance, let me see here. If you go to the second picture, this student was actually in expeditions, and she was visiting a train station in London, and then she was listening to the tour. And the last picture, it's a YouTube visit. I divided the students into 3 groups, and one group went to Barcelona, and the other group went to Prague, and the other group went to London. So the purpose is important because we need our students to produce. So the experience takes us somewhere. Now you can see the COVA model and VR integration. The COVA model has been going on. It's a very recent feature, and I just took the liberty to use the principles and integrate to VR. One key point is that students choose the path of their learning. When using expeditions, it's okay to share this power with your student. Maybe they choose the tour they want to take, instead of teacher directing this tour, just an idea here, okay? And the authentic experience possibility. Well, when I applied this to the classroom, there was of course, I had to listen from my students. Heike, if you could try clicking there on this link, I believe there's the chance. We see the feedback of the students. I'm going to, while talking, try to find it here, okay? And let's see. Okay. It seems that I have this limitation of resource here, guys. Sorry.
What are you looking for?
Okay. So there is limitation here. Yeah, I can't really do a lot.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, I was looking for following this link. I can share that with you. Do you think you could go back to that screen, Heike, while I share the link, and then you share that with the guys? I'm just getting it here.
Would you like me to share it?
Okay.
Would you like me to share it?
Yeah, to share. Yeah, if you could. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to share the results with you. I'm just getting the link here. But what I can tell you guys is that the positive is it's positive experience, and the students, okay, I found it. All right. Yeah, Heike, if you can click on the top of the file, there is something called responses, and that's precisely what I would like you.
I only see that.
You only see that. Okay, let me see if I send you. But anyways, you can see. Okay, I'm sending you now. But you could see the questions I asked. With the little kids, it's very easy because the excitement. Heike, I've just sent you another link, and let's see if this one opens, right? Thank you for the assistance. And the whole point, guys, is that the feedback is mostly positive. They enjoy that. But, of course, there are things to consider. Using virtual reality devices somehow interferes on our inner balance. And this is something I didn't have a long time to share with you, but then I'm trying here, sorry. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, we are trying to share that. But one thing to consider, it's really important, is how long to use this experience for. So, for example, when I work with the little kids, no more than a minute. Even with the adults, I would say around 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops is advisable. So be very careful of proposals of integrating VR to there is this matter of our inner balance. Something else I would like to tell you is to be careful of devices with the rubber on the back. I'm going to share some links to Heike here because I'm navigating through the mobile as a presenter, and it's not that easy. Even though I love the mobile environment, I'm all over and all in favor of that. I'll be sharing with you 2 links from Amazon with some models if you want to check in terms of prices. Like Sarah mentioned in her talk, the price is a lot cheaper now. That's a great thing. Price has decreased, and they even sell kits. I worked with 2 of them. I still use mostly 2, especially when working with kids, because you know, with adults, if you have more devices, they can use their very own. But the little kids need more supervision. So the task design is essential. I'm sending Heike 2 links, and I would appreciate it, Heike, if you can share that to the audience, considering I have limitations here on mobile. So, consideration in terms of our health balance, really important. Also, I would avoid those with the rubber, because I've read studies saying that having your hands while carrying the device is an important way to signalize to your body that it's safe. And if you've got this rubber, I'm just using another device here, doing that for you, somehow, in a very simple way of explaining, it's like your body doesn't really trust this is not going to fall. So those activities should be used for a very, very short time, and as an addition to the class. Now, Heike, I'd like, let me see here. I'd like you to share, please, the next screen. Oh, wait, I've got here. Sorry, I got it back. There is a link, and I'd like to invite the audience to find, just type this link on your device, and this is going to give you access to my presentation. This is the same handout that I shared with the audience in the PCE in Brighton.
And I added the handout here in this SharePod, in this file SharePod. So if people want to click on it, and then click on download. Yeah.
That's
and
right.
You have the same.
You have everything here. Well, to finalize here, of course, it's a different approach, because I'm here telling you all about it instead of showing you and giving you the opportunity to actually experience. In this handout, there are videos from Google showing this happening in class. But the real magic is us teachers with the task design and understanding that use of virtual reality in class is like something, a different flavor. You're not going to develop a VR-based class. So if people try, and Sarah mentioned that very well in her talk, this approach of, okay, I can sell this, and there is always some sort of magic that goes like marketing. So just be very careful. This is an integration, and then this experience encourages the students and engages the student into learning more, into sharing. And then we as teachers, we know that very well, how to work with our students and to engage them. Yes, it is important to use 21st century tools while teaching, because those things are part of motivation, enhancing motivation. Students can learn from that. To finalize, guys, okay, I would like to share with you, and I will do that via Heike, who kindly has helped me through here. Although maybe this one I could give it a try. There, I have an Instagram account where I share everything that I do with my students in class in real time, okay? Well, I tried here, but I just couldn't. So I'm going to share that with Heike. And this account is also in this handout. In the stories feature, not in the how can I say that? Okay, that's not. In the stories feature, not on the feed, actually. You can see my students in action. Of course, I'm very careful not to expose students, and this is super important. But, okay. Heike, I see that the responses are not public, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I will include this response feature in this handout. Thank you for pointing that out. I'd like to invite you, if you feel like, to follow the blog and pay attention in the stories feature, because that's where I share things happening in class in real time. Okay? I just shared that with you, Heike, via email. And I would like to thank you very much. If you have questions, I apologize for the sound quality, the difficulties, but this is something that happens when we are working with technology, and somehow we find a way around the difficulties. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raquel. Does anybody have questions?
Thanks for sharing the link to the blog. This is actually the Instagram of the blog. I have a blog, but I just understood that currently, in the past 2 years, Instagram has reached a great deal, and it's faster, you know, and it's visual. Sure. I'll try to write. I think this is fine. Well, students from outside can't get involved. It's a matter of possibly synchronizing. Then it's a very bold idea, Jason, and I think it's an amazing idea. You mean, if I understood that properly, for instance, have a collaboration of students in one country with students in another country, and then mediated by a video conference environments such as Adobe or Google Hangouts or Google Meet. That's a wild idea. It's so great, you know. I think it would work.
I have a question, Raquel. Why would your school not consent to working with cardboard, with Google Expedition?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the whole question.
Why would your school not consent to work with Google Expedition, which is a fairly educational tool?
Okay. Well, I believe that possibly a constraint is the lack of knowledge of what gains students would have, maybe feeling insecure on how teachers would use that. And then something that was mentioned earlier, teacher development programs need to go beyond, it's a very personal opinion, but need to go beyond procedures, established procedures of class presentation, to actually enabling teachers to experience things and dare more and share the control of the class. I mean, that's a wrong word, it's not the word I have in mind, but share the learning path with the students. I don't know if this answers the question, but, and now Google is open to being part of schools for free. So if you get in touch with Google about Google Classroom, you can, as an individual teacher, as a solo teacher, you can have Google Classroom. But you don't need to have Google Classroom to use Expeditions app. Those are independent things, you know. If I say I don't want to have anything to do with Google, that's fine. It is not part of that, you know. And this is really encouraging. This VR experience is really intense when it actually happens and we get to touch the device and see how that goes, you know. So the blog, the LTSIG blog, there's a video showing this, and also Elisa, the roving reporter, she wrote about it. I'd like to invite the audience to follow us closely on Twitter, on the events, because, you know, that does make a difference.
Thank you very much, Raquel. Is there a chance you can stay on a little bit to perhaps answer some more questions in text chat?
Sure, sure.
Thank you very much. And for this session on your experience of Google Expedition and the VR you've been using in class with the children. Very courageous, Raquel, to do this despite not having any support in the school. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and also using that with the teenagers and adults too, okay? It's like all age ranges. There are many possibilities. Heike, thank you very much for the opportunity and for all the support and everyone. And I'm here on the chat if you have questions, okay?
Thank you so much. So we continue with the Learning Technology SIG event. We had, I think, 6 presenters in total, right? It was one didn't really relate to VR, but the others, like Paul Driver, he did a session on VR. Some of this session that he did on VR is available in form of a recording to the Learning Technology SIG members for sure, and also something is on the web. Then there was also John was his name. Okay. Who presented a session. Then it was myself and Raquel and Sarah. And so out of, say, 5 presentations, 3...
There was the Blipper presentation.
Yes, that's correct. But Blipper wasn't really with VR. Not really. And Nick Johnson, I think he's called.
Yeah, true.
The one of net languages. What is his name? John? Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
Nick Johnson or John Nicholson or something like that. Anyway, he's not around either. Okay, but there's still my presentation, which I held at the PCE. Not spending on all that long on it. We will cut it short because our distinguished special guests, Ege and Özner, are also waiting to present their game. And I'm really, really proud what they have done. I'm very delighted that they could make the time coming in from Istanbul. So Raquel, if you wouldn't mind switching off your webcam, or else, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
And I was asked to do this here, so let me record the meeting. So, welcome everybody to the to my talk. I know I'm a woman with many hats. So this is the presentation I held at the Learning Technology SIG pre-conference event in Brighton. A little bit to my background, we'll hear a little bit at the end. Okay, this is what Pablo Picasso said: everything you can imagine is real. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I have been in virtual worlds for about a good 10 years, and we have experienced an enormous growth in quality of the user experience, but not really on the side of the technical difficulties or hurdles to get into virtual worlds. However, these virtual worlds have greatly improved as regards to the graphics. This is a picture of in the year 2008. This is of Second Life. Second Life is one of the first virtual worlds been around from Second Life. A very, very large community in OpenSim has established itself, and today the OpenSim communities and the amount of people using OpenSim virtual worlds, which is almost an identical copy of Second Life, seem to outnumber those in Second Life themselves. It's estimated that 70% of people who are in virtual worlds are in OpenSim. Now, this was in 2008. This is how it got started. In 2018, playing with pets or horse riding took on a totally different meaning due to the import of mesh. Mesh is a 3D object which is created in Blender. Yes, it's amazing, isn't it? What it meant is that those creators of objects were able to create their 3D objects no longer in this virtual world itself, which they couldn't take it out from, they weren't even allowed to export it. But they could start to create their objects on their own computer and then import them into Second Life and into other virtual worlds, which greatly improved not only the quality but also the ownership of these goods. Again, here avatars in Second Life in 2008, and this is what they look like today. Yeah, these avatars are mesh avatars. These days, quite a lot of them, and very incredible. The quality is stunning. What about dating in Second Life? This was a dance, and this is what the men looked like back then, 2008. This is what it looks like today. So this is what mesh has done to the virtual world. As I said, creators of clothes, even body shapes, etc., were able to produce their creations on their computer and then in form of mesh imported into Second Life. Today, I think 80–90% of Second Life is mesh, but as I said, not only into Second Life, but these creators were able to export it into other virtual worlds, and this is how they made money. And now, what does that have to do with VR? Because this is a learning technology SIG, virtual reality experience. Now, virtual reality in many respects is similar to an immersive experience that we've been experiencing in Second Life and in OpenSim and in other virtual worlds for quite some time, and yet it is quite different. And I would like to outline the difference to it. Well, initially I thought, well, what a shame. There is so much beauty in virtual worlds around. Why can we not have this in a headset? I mean, there's billions of US dollars being spent on the head-mounted displays and the new software that has to be created for the head-mounted displays. And HMD is basically one of these goggles. Whether this is a low-end HMD like Google Cardboard or whether it's a high-end. If you have a look here now, I checked the market. I did a market analysis. I tried and tested some 20-odd experiences myself. I bought myself an Oculus Rift. I went to 4 or 5 major exhibitions. I talked to 20-odd producers, manufacturers of VR solutions. I checked every single blog on the web, and it was a really intensive learning experience only to find out the one thing that really sort of got to me, and everybody said to me, well, new hardware means new software. And my German technical mind, but also my recycling mind kind of rebels with the thought of wasting digital assets. Digital assets are just like real assets. I mean, there was some effort being put into creating them. So I was hoping that perhaps some of this virtual world could go into VR headsets. But the trouble is, this is just a thought. The trouble is that because of the head-mounted display, because of the glasses, because you move your head, if the refresh rate of the picture moving is not really, really fast, that's where the dizziness comes from. You heard a lot that people get dizzy in these headsets. Well, it's the refresh rate, and virtual worlds do not lend themselves. The refresh rate is way too low. There's a lot of lag. Even resing the objects takes its time, so this is why they're not really useful for VR. So have a look at the kind of, I tried to do Bloom's taxonomy, but the fact is that the social stuff nowhere fits into Bloom's taxonomy. So we have, of course, the remembering, understanding bit, the 360 images, 360 videos. We have the higher end where you can create something. In Minecraft, obviously, you can create complete worlds in VR, and that in a Samsung Gear device. Thingling is a solution that allows you to add interactive buttons to a 360-degree video. And Paul Driver explained that quite nicely. So then the question, it's fairly sort of what I evaluated. I also evaluated the so-called high-end HMTs, again, the social side of things, which is my main interest, and I'm going to present you a lot more about it. Is nowhere in this Bloom's taxonomy really represented, but the creative bit, like Google Tilt Brush and Minecraft VR, again, escape rooms, adventure games, you can understand where it's getting at. So far, Minecraft is at the top of the list. We've heard so much about Minecraft. I'm going to go on to talk about Facebook Spaces, a really, really fun game. You can invite your friends, and on this table you can do a couple of things you can also do with friends. You can take selfies, you have a mirror, you have some games, little games, you could do fishing. You can change the 360-degree photo which is around you into all sorts of 360-degree photos from Facebook. You can also draw something in 3D and then grab the drawing, put it somewhere else. The funny thing is that we, at the PCE in Brighton, I had the Oculus Rift with me and we tried a couple of, but suddenly, for some reason, the sensors, I don't know what had happened, suddenly the table was too low. And I said, no problem, you can adjust the table. And so I raised the table a little bit, and suddenly the next person who put the Oculus on, the table was way in the sky. I couldn't even reach the reset button. I mean, there's a reset button on the wrist, but it didn't kind of work because you clicked on the reset button, and then came the confirmation, do you really want to reset this thing? And that was above the table. I couldn't get to it. Eventually, I thought maybe I'm clever, climb up a staircase and try to, but the result was the table went even higher. It's about like 50 meters high in the air now, so it's totally useless, this thing. It's so funny. It was a blast, honestly. Our Sansa VR is now, Sansa is that virtual world which was specially built for VR by Second Life. The current owners of Second Life, Abel Altberg, he forced and pushed that. And it's absolutely stunning. The graphics are amazing. All done in Maya, not even Blender works here, sort of. Well, you can Blender, import 3D, even stuff, doodle stuff, but as I said, these are graphic experts. And what I liked about Second Life is this user-generated content. So here, no longer user-generated. You have to accept what graphics designers create. But you can walk around it. You can't sit down, you can walk around, you can experience things, you can do some games, so you can talk to people. It's fun. Same here. Imagine meeting your friends in space, V-time. Just sit around, talk, VR chat is very much the same way. I've not tried this one because it seems to cater for the music industry, so a lot of flashing lights as the music is being played, but a sociable experience. And high fidelity is absolutely cute. Now, what is the big difference about an immersive experience in a virtual world like Second Life, which in many respects is very, very emotional as well. You feel immersed, you feel like you're there. And VR, well, there's really one major difference, and I'm quite looking forward to this. The biggest thing is whatever you see in your head-mounted display is eye height. So you see in front of you a person that is the same height as you. So you feel as if you're standing in front of a person. Whereas if you look down on your laptop, on a Second Life meeting even, I know you can zoom in the camera and look into people's faces, but you're always looking down to kind of a puppet play sort of thing. But with VR, you're standing in front of a person, and suddenly, and then this person starts talking to you, and they said, and you start chatting, almost like as if you met in the streets. And then this person says, oh, I'm at the moment in Vietnam. And I'm going, okay, what you doing here? Well, I like VR, I like high fidelity. And when in Vietnam, when I go to bed, the people in the US start waking up. And so I'm a little bit on my own during the day, a little bit, and stuff like that. Interesting. The other thing is, very important for language education, there's no keyboard. There's only hands. You cannot type. You have to talk. Now that in itself is a different kettle of fish. Try to communicate in real time. You need to know English. And the third thing is the hands. Well, I have my own theory of what will be interesting for VR to experience when you have hands. And perhaps if you look at the Ready Player One Steven Spielberg film, you might know what I'm hinting at. So Old Space VR is Microsoft's VR world, but it's rather very sterile, very the characters don't move. They don't even move the hands, and that is a total stick kind of game. But it's sociable. And then you have the real games, as in you interact with objects. And this one is, it stands in front of you. This one, eye height. I mean, the same height as, even bigger. You know, this is a robot that came towards me out of this door in a VR experience center in Berlin. Yeah, and if suddenly it said, oh, robot, repair. You have to repair me. You know, I'm going, okay, click a little bit here, click a little, and if suddenly this whole thing opens up at a length of about 5-6 meters, how many rings I cannot tell you. I mean, it was the complete motor sort of unraveled, like you've seen in some Porsche videos, and in front of you, like a huge amount of technology with lots of can't tell you. It looked really like the inside of a motor, but like stretched out, and they kept blinking and stuff, and you're supposed to click here. And then eventually I found the button that says, click here to repair. And I'm thinking, I'm great, you know, click on it. And it must have been too late, because there came the message, something like, and it fell apart. That whole thing dropped out of the air onto the floor in a big mess of metal pieces of some machinery. Huge mess. I freaked, and I'm going like, oh my God, what have I done? I've crashed and then came the message, repair station will auto-destruct in 20 seconds. 19, 18, 17. I tell you, this game is so funny. I tried to download it and install it, but it never worked on my machine. It's free, by the way. It's VR Lab. It's so funny. But look at these experiences. I mean, stunning. You can use your hands to do sailing. You can pull the strings. You can move the rudder. The environment looks real. You can actually hear the scratching of the boat at the beach. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And this is what I think VR could do in a classroom now. Okay, imagine that scenario, a whole classroom. You have somebody standing in front of the classroom. The classroom can only have one VR headset, just like it has one interactive whiteboard, for example, because it's too expensive otherwise. So one VR headset per class, and you could possibly do it. Perform a chemical experiment with your hands. The class can comment, and everybody sees on the interactive whiteboard everything that the person also sees. They can watch on, and so they can conduct the chemical or physical experiment, might get stuck, can get comments from the classmates, and then it could be a safe chemical experiment, the same like an operation, anything you have to do, like simulating some real-life tasks. So job simulations is a big issue. Escape rooms is a really nice thing to do, a sociable experience to find out how to escape the room. And these sort of limited scenarios in the classroom, but they're quite valuable. And this is what we're looking at. I have been invited by a Ministry of Education of a country to join a VR experience project where we have to think of in the town hall to create a VR experience center for schools. But the idea here is not that the school classes just go there and have a wow effect, but that they actually go home with something into their school, something that they can take along. So it's quite challenging, quite interesting, really interesting project. And to be honest, I got into VR myself this year. So I mean, it's fairly new technology for all of us, and all you can use is at the moment is what's on the market. There's not a lot you can do yourself, but thinking of teaching scenarios lesson plans, weight suppliers that could also, I mean, if you help me have ideas, that'd be great. So multi-user escape rooms. Now, this is the one key I think I would like you to ask, because I've seen people, they go into VR to watch a video in a cinema-like experience. I've seen people also go into a virtual world with their students and let them stand in front of a billboard of an image. Yeah, and this is where I keep saying use 3D where 3D makes sense. And where does 3D really make sense? Now think of the amount of occupations who in future will have to have 3D skills. Yeah, architects, engineers, city planners, trade fair organizers, interior designers, game developers, landscaping. These are all professions who will have to have even know-how on how to create something in 3D. So why not get them into virtual worlds and ask them to create for these virtual worlds houses, buildings? You know, it's so easy and cheap to set up a house in Second Life, and you can do that with what looks like really like a plan on you know, on like a 2D plan like this. Yeah, a 3D printing, a very big issue coming up now. 3D art, sculpture, fashion design, cinema experience, that's the one thing I'm doubtful about, but quite popular it seems. So here, health, anatomy, cell structure, heart, skeleton, that's about the key ones at the moment they focus on. However, a lot of it can be sports, virtual museum tours. So these are all scenarios where 3D makes absolute sense, and this is what should come into the educational field of using 3D or 3D. Yeah, that's why I have created a wish list for applications based on this, wish list of job simulations, a wish list of for these professions, counseling, post-traumatic. We've mentioned quite a few of them, so they're bits and bits of already about. Tourism, very, very good point. Very good point. So the 360 photo video is absolutely here essential in providing experiences. And so that's the end of my talk. I do highly recommend watching Ready Player One by Steven Spielberg. It's an amazing film, not only because of the virtual reality elements into it. There is a beautiful mixture of a game as well as a real virtual experience, but also a fantastic story. I mean, Steven Spielberg is an absolute master. Really, really brilliant. I was so impressed. Really liked it. And Jane loved it. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic movie. It's just been out a month, right? I think 3 weeks in the UK. Not even out in Germany yet because of... so let me just quickly explain to you where I'm coming from. Started 2003 with virtual classroom technology, language learning at a distance in real time. That is my passion. Created 4 EU-funded projects by now. Sorry, picture's gone. 4 EU-funded projects, raised some €2 million from the EU to create teacher training courses in language learning, like teacher training courses for teachers to learn how to use virtual worlds in language teaching and learning. Until now, this 3D experience has not been very, very appreciated because 3D and Second Life was out for a long time. Virtual worlds is kind of not really in the attention of people. However, in this field, there's a lot of development has taken place, a lot of expertise is around, and it really makes a difference to have sort of stayed with virtual worlds environments and to to keep developing. That's the thing is, and then this VR trend, which is now just come in and kicked in, who would have known this a couple of years ago? Yeah. And now the experience of language teaching and learning in a virtual world, it now comes into play and is again a valuable asset. apart from that, I run web conferences, as you know, quite a few of them. You can't wait to become a stay-at-home teacher. There is quite a number of teachers who have started teaching live online. I know quite a few. And interestingly, I was approached at the met at IATEFL somebody who said, look, we're looking for 500 live online teachers. Contact me, Heike, if you know anybody. 500, only 500, you know. Okay. The best person to learn it from is Carol, by the way. Okay, thank you very much for listening. You can ask questions, but I'm happy to answer these in text chat because I would like to give the stage to some amazing people. I met the Alchemist team in Berlin. Let me stop the recording and start it again for others. I'll repeat that now because I invited you guys to this. Ege and Özner are with me. Thank you, Adriana. Please ask questions. I'm happy to answer in text chat. Keep them dropping into the text chat, or I will approach you afterwards to tell more about. But I really want to show you what they have done. So impressive. You've heard me talk about hackathons a couple of times. There was a big event in Berlin, and Goethe has probably taken about €1 million into their hands in order to stage that event. And they did a trial hackathon in Istanbul. And these people won the Istanbul. Can you come on stage? You've all got webcam and audio rights, Özner and Ege. These people won the hackathon in Istanbul with an amazing VR game. I'm so keen to watch. Do stay on for this amazing presentation.
Thank you, Heike.
Do you have like 20 minutes or 30 or how long planning?
The thing is, I want to just upload 2 files. I have a normal PPT Excel. Sorry, I just mix Spanish and English all the time. And I will also upload the video. So I don't think it would take time. I will write my presentation.
That's great, absolutely great. So I'm going to give you
can you
give you a share pod, and I'm also giving you a second share pod.
The upload.
Sure. One can upload the PPT, one can upload, or both you, Ege, whatever. Özner. Ege, do you want to come on stage?
Thank you.
Hello
everyone.
Great to see you. We became friends in Berlin because they're so adorable. Although I'm not their age.
So much.
I'm not their age and I'm not their beauty.
No, it's not true.
So it's a team of 4. Let me just explain. A team of 4 who are 2 Maya 3D graphics designer experts, one who's a Unity programmer, and one who is the Spanish teacher and the head of the team, Özner, the team leader. The task was to present an idea, which is what the hackathon does, but they didn't just present an idea, they created a complete game in a matter of 3 days. This is probably why they won the hackathon, because they had a game in the end, whereas others just presented. Did the others present also some prototypes?
Yes, they made also some prototypes as VR and some mobile games.
And some mobile games. Never mind. See, You won it. So
Yeah.
the prize money was that they would be invited to Berlin to be part of the hackathon in Berlin. According to me, whatever they brought along and were ready to develop and had an idea was definitely worth the first prize. Interestingly, they didn't win it.
I wouldn't say that.
Interestingly,
Yeah,
they didn't win it, and I'll tell you the reason why. Because I tried to analyze that afterwards, and the reason was that Goethe was very conservative in what they chose to be the winners. There was no VR solution, no AI solution, artificial intelligence, none of the hip things, just some tandem app. You know, what's that? So, I mean, they really were conservative, and unjustly so, because their level, what they aimed at was quite a different kettle of fish. So according to me, we have now a fantastic winner here in front of us, the winner of the Istanbul hackathon. What is it? What was it called? Babel something?
Babylon Jam.
The Babylon Jam. Incredible.
Yeah. Babylon Jam.
Babylon Jam. So, and now let me stop talking and let you carry on talking. I will introduce you at the beginning though, if I don't mind. But how you've now created a video. How big is it?
We already upload the video to I guess the Adobe Connect, right, Özne?
It is about 20.
But Özne is uploading it just now. 25?
Uploading, but it says, yeah, it says 5%, but I don't know how. Just send this right now, 6, and it's just 20 megabytes.
20 megabytes. And how many percent is it now already?
6%.
6%. Okay, we'll have to wait a little.
So it takes some time, and
your voice is, unfortunately, because of that upload, it's a little distorted.
Probably because of that, yeah.
Yeah.
If I send you the YouTube link,
Yeah, we have also
send you the YouTube
but...
link, it would be possible to play from there?
Absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, great.
Shall we stop
okay,
the upload?
I'm canceling this upload.
Okay, sounds good.
I stopped it, and I will just find the link.
So, live stream is still running. Okay. Cool. Govinda, you are amazing. It's really, really late where he is. And he's kept hanging in there.
Nice.
So what do you think? Can we give it a start? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess if Özne is ready, she can start.
Yeah, I'm just... Okay, just a second, I'm sending you the link for it.
Okay.
Okay, you received it, I think.
Yeah, I'm seeing your private chat already.
Okay.
And we'll share this link to YouTube when you're ready to show it. Not now, but when you're ready to show it, you simply paste it into the text chat. Or if you don't grab it quick enough, I'll do it for you. But yeah. So what I'll do is
Great, thank you.
I'll start the recording. I'll quickly introduce you and mention where we met and a little bit, and then I'll pass over to you. Who goes first?
I will start. And whenever she's ready, she can also come in and talk.
Okay, fantastic. So, starting the recording. So, welcome everybody to the last session of this free day of the Virtual Roundtable Conference in conjunction with vLanguages. It is my great delight to welcome the Alchemist team from Istanbul to join us as special guest to the Virtual Reality Symposium. And special because it's a young team of 4 really great experts still who have won the Istanbul Hackathon organized by Goethe. It was called Babylon Jam, and there was quite a large crowd of entries, and they won it because of their beautiful virtual reality game, which they will present to us tonight. And in this team of 4, there are 2 experts on Maya developers. That's a 3D software, which is very, very complicated, very difficult. Then there's an Unity programmer, and then there is also Özne, who's a Spanish teacher. Yeah, and they created a language learning game that is interactive, that is absolutely lovely. It's mystical. It's got some game elements in it. It's got some fantasy elements in it, and I'm really looking forward to them presenting this here. Now, again, Peru, yeah, it's late. Again, could you perhaps introduce yourself briefly to these 2 if you joined just now? And whilst you're doing this, I will like to introduce to you Özne Özdal, who is a Spanish teacher and a student in game design in the MA program in Bahçeşehir in the university in Istanbul, in Turkey. She studies to work as a game content and narrative designer. She's also interested in audio design. And then there's Ege Kumilali, who is a student in game design MA program at the same university, and Istanbul is the university, right? She works as a 3D designer and uses Maya. Her boyfriend, who's Batuhan Kuguk, graduated from the animation department of Plato School of Visual Arts in 2014. He works as a 3D environment artist, and these 2, they are a promising team, I tell you what. And Ekin is a fantastic computer engineering student. He works as a programmer of core game mechanics. And they produced Alchemist, and without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Özne, who will tell us more about it. Thank you very much for joining that.
Thank you.
Thank you. There might be some problems with my internet connection, but I will try to just understand if there's any problems with it. But thank you, Heike, for the opportunity. It is a great opportunity for us to just introduce ourselves, introduce our game that we created, and we are so happy to be here. And this is our first online conference that there might be some issues. And I'll be presenting you the Alchemist. As Heike mentioned, I'm Özne Özdal, and I'm going to be talking about a virtual reality adventure game. Not just an educational application that you just download on your phone and just try to memorize words or anything. It's an adventure game, and it is used with a head-mounted display. So it is very
Özner, can you also freeze your webcam, perhaps? You hover your mouse over the webcam image and you find a pause button at the bottom left. Heike, can you jump in? Just need to unmute.
I guess he has a kind of internet connection problem, right?
I should be back in a second. Can you take over from her with the presentation, or?
Actually, she made the presentation. I didn't prepare it before. Maybe
Doesn't matter. You can tell a little bit about your experience with the Babylon Jam and what you and your boyfriend are doing, and you just, fill the gap.
Yeah, sure. I am the 3D artist of the Alchemist game, and it's a game who teach the children and the beginners to the Spanish and basic Spanish words and vocabulary. And game has a 3-part, and one part is much more focused on teaching the vocabulary, and second
very
part
immersive. I will just go on with this. Berlin and during the sentence. And as Heike mentioned again, I won't be talking about it again. She summarizes everything we did was very. How can I? Because we did immersive.
Okay, she'll have to come back and just repeat it. That's okay.
Yeah, I guess she didn't recognize. Sorry. She didn't recognize, like she.
Okay, just continue.
Yeah,
okay.
sure. And our game is a kind of educational adventure game that takes advantage of the immersive structure of the VR. And as I said before, the game has a 3-part, and the first part is focusing on the much more like the vocabulary and the learning of the words. And the second part of the game is the making a simulation about the daily speech. Like, for example, if you want to buy something from somewhere, and it's the simulating that's the situation. And the third part, it can develop kind of a voice recognition system. So after you say some words, and yeah, actually, it's much better idea to play the video, so you can see the gameplay video. After that, we can continue on our presentation if it is possible.
Exactly. Fantastic. So I'm going to paste the link. Everybody watch by himself.
Yeah, can be great. As a keyword, you can try to write the Alchemist gameplay. I will write here. Maybe try to search it like this. I hope you can find it. Again, sorry for technical, because of the technical issues that, yeah.
Has everybody been able to watch the video by now? Can you type in the text chat that you've done with watching?
Thank you, Jane.
Perhaps, Heike, if you could also freeze your webcam, just freeze it, you know. You can hover your mouse over the webcam image and then not kill it, but freeze it. Hover your mouse over the webcam image, you'll find a pause button. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I promoted Özne, but she's dropped out again already. One more time.
Oh, she's not here now?
Well, I promoted her already, but she dropped out again, so welcome back, Özne. Can you freeze your webcam by clicking in the... Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And we watched the video in the meantime as you were away, so... And Heike also started explaining a little bit. So if you could just continue where you laid off.
Okay, I was just talking about the team, and I will just go on with the presentation. And the keyword for us is the immersion.
And we did not hear anything about the team. Sorry, we lost you about the first couple of sentences. I'm sorry. Can you go back, perhaps?
Oh. The thing is, I think my connection won't let us do this presentation. If it's possible, we can continue with Heike, and after that, if I can solve it, I can come back. There's something wrong with it.
It's okay now.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Is it?
Great.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, cool, perfect. And I quoted it from Janet Murray, but since you have already watched the video, I don't have to explain it definitively, because it's like you can see from the video that it just has the player. I'm saying it as the player, not the learner, because you play a game. While you are playing, you're just you're just consuming everything that the game gives you. And our point of perspective, natural language acquisition is one of the most important parts of this project. It is stimulating. We have created a magical environment where you can be some magician, some alchemist that just creates different alternative worlds for himself and solves puzzles, solves mysteries. And from this point of perspective, I just see that there are various apps that just tries to teach you language, but after a while, everyone stops using them because there's no engagement. You repeat everything over and over again, and this doesn't help. This doesn't help the engagement part. With this game, we believe we provided engagement while doing it in an immersive environment. Also, I was talking about the levels before. There are 3 different levels where you, on the first, you have seen that you are just using your hands in order to put the fruits into the cauldron. And in the second, you have to choose different dialogue options. And in the third, there's voice recognition, and there are several parts of language learning that we can implement, and it makes the experience more interactive, and that is very important for us. And also, we are planning to go on with this project in the future. Right now, it is a very rough draft of what we are capable of doing. And also, I was talking about the pronunciation before. The thing is, I'm not native. And since I'm not native, it is not great. Sorry about that. There are some native speakers here. They will tell me that way. And quality of the audio also is poor due to some limitations. But we believe that we implemented some great learning opportunities in that game. And there are some studies that I attached here. And if you are interested, I'm not going to read everything here to you, but if you are interested, there are some references that I attached. You can search for these. Especially on the third one, I want to emphasize this part. Key findings include that games show higher learning gains than simulations and virtual worlds. Because there's the thing that we have the real world. We have some simulations, that is okay. In order to role play, they are great, but we need something more engaging. We need something that is different than the world that we are living in right now. So I think games provide that element of alternative reality for us. And that is, just a second, I will just go on with this. And thank you very much for listening. For technical issues, we had some problems, but if there are any questions, I can answer them for you.
I would very much like you to go back to the beginning of that presentation to introduce the team.
Sure. Okay, Ege and Batuhan are 3D designers, and Ege is a student in game design MA program in Bahçeşehir University, and she works as a 3D designer. Batuhan graduated from the animation department, and Ekin is the core game mechanics programmer. And he's also a computer engineering student, and I'm a Spanish teacher, and a student in game design program in Bahçeşehir University. And I'm trying to become a content and narrative designer right now, and trying to do some audio design, but due to the limitations, I had some problems with it.
And can I just ask, did you create this in a matter of days, or was there work beforehand that you put into it?
The thing is, it's the first 2 chapters was created in just 2 days, and 3 days, I think, right? When I count the Ege, are you there?
Yes, yes. Yes.
It was 2.5 days, right?
Yes.
And, yeah. And also, we implemented a 3rd level afterwards, but it wasn't. It didn't take a long time. Also, I would say just a week, I think, at most.
And this is what I find absolutely stunning. How can you create something like this in a matter of a week? I mean, others would spend months.
We didn't sleep at some point. that the graphic design is something else, and Ege and Batuhan are great artists, and we had some problems with visa, and Batuhan had some misfortune. I would really love him to go to Germany with us to that hackathon, but we couldn't get a visa. That was very strange for us to experience. And yeah, they are great.
Voice was off. This brings me to a picture I would like to share. Absolutely would like to share. And that is how Ege carried around Batuhan for 3 days in Berlin. That was so hilarious, honestly. Any other questions here? I have to find the picture. Any other questions to these two? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find the picture that I thought I'd saved specially for this evening, but obviously not. I'll find it again on my mobile.
Vocabulary. Jane, hi. Our main focus was vocabulary and vocabulary for fruits and numbers.
Yeah, and what was so cute is you had to put these banana and coconut, according to what you understood it to be, you know, the Spanish words, you had to put it all into this big jar of boiling something, and eventually, if you did it right, what came out of it?
There's this guide, and the guide guides you to the next level, to the marketplace where you get a key in order to open the dungeon to get the I don't know, I don't remember the exact word for it, the treasure from the dungeon. That was an interesting journey for us, and I had a lot of fun writing the content for it. It was great. Yeah, that was aguacate.
So the question is, do you have new ideas for new games at the moment, or what's your pursuit right now? Did you go back to day-to-day work now after Berlin, or what happened?
Right now we are working with Heike on another project. It's for our homeworks, you know, we just do homeworks. And the one that we are working on is about lives of depressed scientists, artists, and it will also be an adventure game. It doesn't focus on the language area, but it is a fun project for us right now.
And what is it? Your studies are game design right now. How far are you into studies?
This is our first year. We are at the end of our first year. Yeah.
Now look at that. They start studying game design, and in the first year they win the hackathon. I mean, this is incredible. I want to have your career in front of me.
Thank you very much, Heike.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, that is so much fun. I'm afraid I can't find this. So, is any other questions here? Otherwise, we'll stop this now, and we'll. For some reason, this wonderful picture is not arriving in my inbox. I don't know why. I'm trying to share it. And I love that to bits, honestly.
Heike, again, thank you very much for the opportunity. It was a great chance for us to introduce our game to teachers, and we would love to do this for other games in the future also.
I would wish you all the very best, because I mean, I was so impressed by not only by this the teamwork in itself, but also by the real high quality of this game. And it worked. You know, you could really, with a stick, pick up the bananas, pick up these things, pick up the gum, and the voice recognition. I'm not sure whether you got this from the video. He had to speak the words in order for the fairy to go through the jars of the jail in order to pick up the object so that they could then exit the jail. Yeah, I mean, that is, to me, it's genius, honestly.
Thank you.
If I'd been Goethe at the Jane asked, is the game available to try? Well, to be honest, you can only play the game with a head-mounted display. Yeah. And this head-mounted display has to be a high-end one. It has to be an Oculus Rift. It has to be, yeah, it has to be an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a head-mounted display?
In the school, we have a kind of VR lab, so we can use them whenever we want.
No, I'm just asking.
You are asking Jane, right?
Correct.
If it's a, is it a PlayStation VR or Oculus Rift or which one? PlayStation. We haven't developed it right now. It doesn't have a build for PlayStation, I think, right? Again, I'm not sure, but
Yes, it's for computer for now. But
yeah.
if you want to play it, just I can speak with Ekin, so maybe I can arrange it to apply for a PlayStation.
Can't believe it. My system is now so slow. Finally. Oh my goodness, just to get a picture of my mobile. Oh, and now it's this way around. Look at that. But now you can see how Heike has been carrying around Batuhan. So 2 days on Skype, on a continuous Skype call. He wanted to be in Berlin and he couldn't get a visa. Yes, he was with us all the time. It's just so funny to carry the boyfriend around. Normally it's the other way around. Yeah, it was such a shame, honestly. But what was more of a shame, I'd say in a minute. But anyway, we're going to close the recording now. And thank you so much for presenting this fantastic game for us, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Yes.
And now, off the record, I can tell you guys why they have not won the hackathon. According to me, that was a sabotage act, yeah? Sabotage act. The thing is that with the hackathon, it's a process of creating ideas and then implementing these ideas and coming to a rounded out idea of which will be analysis. We've done the hackathon a couple of times here at the VR as well. First you have an idea, then you form a group around this idea, and this group develops what's known as kind of a SWOT analysis, and then you put it on paper. That's just the idea, and it's a few graphics, etc. It was not meant to be for us to program. However, I joined this wonderful team, and I said, okay, let's try and see whether we can do some German as opposed to Spanish. I mean, it was a German hackathon. And Goethe, yeah. And what then happened was on the second day of the hackathon, just as we were about to begin this work, we were joined by 3 other young, very enthusiastic teachers of German who had, by themselves, they had a fantastic amount of ideas in their head. Very strong-minded people. Well, one of them didn't talk much, but the others were really sort of into it, wanting to develop their own thing rather than work with a team. So it was a group problem, a group interaction problem. And Özner, who in many respects learned a great deal through that, I guess.
I learned a lot.
She was so sweet. She was so sweet. She wanted to include these 2. Which ensued into a 3-hour debate on what to do. Almost the whole evening went into going and to deciding what to do. Yeah, and at that point, after 3 hours, I bailed out. I said, "Look, it's not working. I wish you all the best. I'm going." You know, it's because there was notice. I mean. For example, I was store, you know, we grabbed a couple of things. We could have done something really, good looking, very good, interactive as well as a kind of prototype. And we presented to the group, and one of them just turned around and said, "Oh, I want a library." I said, "Look, I'm just presenting you a village with some alchemist objects in them. We could do some role play and treasure hunt and mystery and discovery. No, I want a library." And that was the comment, and that was it. So the idea was cancelled. It was like that. And the next day, after really another restless night, the next day, the presentation was corrupted in many respects because one of them suggested to do it. And in walking up the stage with the whole group, walking up the stage, she freaked out, turned around and said, "I can't do it." But she'd prepared. And Ursula has not. And Ursula went on stage and did the presentation unprepared. If she'd known that she would have been, she could have done a fantastic job. I know she would have done a fantastic job, but she was ill prepared. She went on stage. You had 2 minutes to present. There's no chance whatsoever that this VR game had any chance whatsoever. And that was the group interaction. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so outspoken about it because I was very upset about the fact that you didn't win anything. You didn't even win one of the four prizes for the 6 that were presented. And if that was
we could just say that was an experience. Well, we just
it was
think
an experience.
It was a beautiful experience. We didn't expect such a thing, but I think they weren't into games also. They were trying so hard to choose an application that they weren't into games. So we were very surprised that they invited us there. We didn't expect to be there at some point. They shouldn't have called us, because if you are going to do something solely on applications, then why there is a game design group there? So
yeah, as I said, the judgment was very, very, very conservative. I mean, it's almost like they put a heat into the room. They put a big bonfire into the room, and in the end, they turned the heating down. It was one of those effects. Very good conversation. Okay, this is off the record. We all learned something. Yeah,
exactly.
And it was the most amazing thing is that it was a blast of a time. Honestly, I thought it was hilarious. It was brilliant.
It was hilarious, but at the same time, we are thankful that we had the chance to meet you. We had the chance to spend some time in Berlin. So yeah, that was an experience. That's the only thing that we can say about this.
Thank you so much. And Ursula, your voice held up.
Really?
Yes. All good. So, Batuhan, you can pack away now in the suitcase. Bye for now. I hope that this recording will be watched many times over. And thanks to everyone who attended the virtual roundtable. It was 3 days of a technical nightmare. But then yesterday we'd spent quite a bit of time to get somebody working to screen share the iPad on the laptop and Adobe and I don't know, 10 videos and goodness knows what, yeah. And then I received an IM in the said, Heike, and it went on. The technical issues went on 12 hours. And then in the end, I said, Heike, I mean, you had quite a blast of a day. I said, well, the thing is, I do not want normal presentations. I would have had an easy 3 days if I just asked the people to come up with PowerPoint and that's it, But the thing is, I want it all. I want screen sharing, iPads, videos, multimedia, hackathons, adathons, what we did, just because I hate boring presentations. So, yes, and Govinda, you better go to bed now. He's in Nepal. That must be like 3 o'clock in his morning or something stupid. Govinda, he's been around all day. Fantastic audience. Love you and leave you. Get a beer now.
Thanks. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you for everyone. Aa dur dur.